My name is Armin Shomian. I'm the current president of MEIEA. I do want to let you know that this meeting presentation will be recorded for archiving purposes. And we also like to share these presentations on our YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed, I posted the link in the chat. Feel free to follow us there. We have some great sessions already posted there. I also want to inform you about our upcoming summit in Las Vegas on March 23rd through the 25th. There's actually a call for research and paper presentations right now with a priority deadline, I believe, of December 1st. So please go to MEIEA.org for more information there and to submit a paper. And finally, we are in the MEIEA election phase. Nominations are open now for president, vice president, and 4 general board members. So please consider nominating yourself or encourage a colleague. We'd love to have you involved in our organization, not really just as a service to our profession, but to also highlight your programs in your institution. Currently, we have board members from across the US. We have board members from Sweden and Australia as well. So for more info on that, go to MEIEA.org and you can fill out a nomination form. Those are due in about 2 weeks on October 30th. I'm going to hand it over to Professor Terry Tompkins over at Hofstra and fellow MEIEA board member to introduce our presentation for today. Terry.
All right, fantastic. And I know Armin has to jump to a search committee meeting, so we're going to let him go. Thanks, Armin, for everything. We appreciate it. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and thanks to MEIEA and David from Viberate for taking time. Say hello to David and MEIEA. Taking time to present the platform. And, we want to make this interactive. So, questions, if you're using the platform, if you have questions about the platform, let's keep a two-way dialogue going. Since we have a small group, let's just quickly, can we quickly do introductions, name, title, institution? We'll start with Chris.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Chris Reale. I'm an assistant professor of music and music industry. I teach at Ramapo College, which is in North Jersey, right near the New York border. So I teach classes on the industry and also music history as well.
That's great. Thanks. Thanks, Chris. Marcus?
I'm Marcus Thomas. I'm chair of music and performing arts management at the University of Hartford, and I'm also a MEIEA board member.
Excellent. And Morgan?
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan Bryant Reeder. I'm an assistant professor of marketing at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia.
Great. Lauren?
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Claire and I am an instructor of voice at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And I also direct a vocal jazz ensemble and a songwriters ensemble as well.
Great. Sorry for not getting your name correct. So Lauren, right? Lauren?
Yes, you would have had no way of knowing that.
Yes, okay. And I know Julie is transitioning from class. I don't know if you're here.
I can introduce myself though, Terry. Hi, I'm Julie Viscardi-Smalley. I'm an associate professor at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, and I teach entertainment and music industry courses in the sports, entertainment, and event management department. Sorry to have my video on. I'm racing between things, and I actually do need to leave the meeting a bit early. So when I sign off, please know it's not because I don't want to be here. Wouldn't miss a meet some meets.
Fantastic. Thanks, Julie. We appreciate it. And David, you have somebody from Viberate on the day. There's another.
No, this is my note taker for some. I'm just looking at it. I don't know why it's online, but it doesn't matter. Ignore it. It's not me.
So does everyone have access to Viberate now? Raise your hand or just chime in. Yeah, you all have Viberate now. You have access to premium? Marcus, Lauren, Morgan?
I bought it over the summer for a project I was working on. When I tried to use the MEIEA login, it never worked for me. So I just paid for it because it was worth it.
Everyone else. Marcus, do you have premium? Or are you using the platform?
We're not using the platform currently. We tried it out over the summer though. My colleague and I, Mimit and I.
Perfect. Okay. And Chris?
Yeah, I have access through MEIEA, and we're still considering whether we're going to pursue it further. So, but there's interest for sure.
Great. Lauren?
I do not have it currently. I met with Marcus earlier this week, and I'm just learning about MEIEA and getting involved in all of that. So I am just learning about Viberate.
Okay, great. And Julie?
I'm not currently using the platform yet.
Okay, great. So we have a kind of a mixture, guys, right? So maybe a little bit of context, sort of like a walk through the platform, probably a good refresher for everyone, and then and then the case study for the project, and then we can ask questions along the way, and then I can do a little demo on how I'm using the platform if you want at the end. So I'm going to pass it off to you guys.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is David, and my colleague Micha. Hi. So basically, this is meant to be very interactive. It's not formal, so we'll do bits of presenting, and then you're free to ask whatever you want, even if you have like use cases in mind, just come up with them and we'll try to answer, or if not today, we'll answer in writing later. So basically, that's that. We'll run through. Micha will start from one angle. I'll then continue from another angle, and yeah, that's it. Let's keep it simple and refreshing and knowledgeable. Okay.
I think we need to screen share first.
I think we do.
Everyone can see what we have.
True. Can everybody see the screen share?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
There awesome. You go. So before continuing, I just want to say that Viberate is a very broad and deep platform when it comes to music data analytics. But today we decided to focus on a topic of trending artists, how to discover them, how to find ways to get trending artists on your radar, as well as how to screen them, how to find some signals to determine if they are worth further investigation or not. So, first of all, Viberate tracks more than 1 million different entities. We track from artists, venues, festivals, as well as genres and countries, music-wise. And when it comes to artists, we actually have a very extensive artist chart. So this is the chart with all the artists on Viberate. So this is a very useful discovery tool, because by default, we can see that these are the top artists, the superstars. But if you dig a bit deeper, if you apply some filters to your specific use case, you can quickly discover some potential artists. So firstly, I want to show you the Spotify artist chart. So here are only artists according to their Spotify performance. And for my first use case, I wanted to show you how you can detect artists who are breaking through playlists, who are getting playlisted a lot. So, for example, in my case, I want to focus on artists that are from the United States. So I can just simply search here and apply the filter, so I can get artists from the US. And if I want to focus on a specific genre, I can do so as well. So right now I'm looking only at country artists. And this is very practical because our database is curated, so the genres are hand curated. They aren't like detected automatically or something. So it's super accurate. And here we can see the top country artists in the US. And then the trick comes here. So we have also a couple of advanced filters. So these filters allow you to narrow the selection of artists so that you don't get only the superstars. So first of all, if I want to apply the Spotify artist rank, actually this is our calculated metric that takes into account the overall Spotify performance of artists. So I can simply narrow it down to those ranking below 10,000 rank, so that I basically remove the superstars or the artists that are already discovered from the list. So the list is now narrowed down to 2,300 artists who match my selected filters. And a cool thing I can do is I can sort them according to their playlist reach. So the playlist reach is the combined following of all the playlists where the artists are featured. And we can see that these are the most playlisted country artists that rank below 10,000. And I can apply an additional filter in the form of monthly listeners. So I want to remove those that have like a large number of listeners. So I can simply add, so let's say I'm not interested into those that have more than 1 million monthly listeners. Oops. I'm not used to your computer, David.
No worries.
So I need to do this again.
Just to give a little context on the ranking here, you didn't explain it, yeah? Viberate rank.
Not into detail.
No, yeah, but basically, so we're ranking. So we have like a algorithm that ranks all the artists listed on Viberate based on a lot of data points. So, and this is what MEIEA is referring to when he says when he's mentioning the rank. So, like from number 1 to the n number of currently listed artists, this is creating a rank from all the data that is available on Viberate.
Yeah, that's correct. So right now I'm looking only at artists who have less than 1 million monthly listeners. And let's say that I want to narrow the range also on the left side. So I want to look also for those who have more than 10,000, for example. So we can see here that we have like still 2,300 artists here. That's quite a lot. So this is actually how you get a short list. So what's cool about Viberate is that once you found like your perfect selection of filters, you can simply save the chart so that you can return to it later when you continue your research, or if you're following a specific set of filters through a longer period of time. And you can use this on like a lot of different levels. So basically, once you find the artists, you can simply click on them and you will be directed to their Spotify analytics, where you can quickly, just by looking at a couple of key indicators, see if they're growing or not. So here on the left side, we can see the ranks. This is the ranking system that David and I previously mentioned. You can see their career health. So this is also a calculated metric where we compare the artist to other artists that are ranked closest to their genre. So for example, they are being compared to other artists in Americana out country subgenre. And we can see that they're performing pretty well. So just by looking at a couple of metrics, you can quickly get an understanding if the artist is worth further investigating or not. And if we move lower, we can see also the top tracks with how many streams they get through different periods of time, how their key Spotify metrics are going. So followers, monthly listeners, also how the trend is looking like through time. So for example, we can see that there has been a spike since May up until now. So the amount of monthly listeners almost doubled. And we also have a comparison to other artists who are in the similar follower range. And basically this artist has more than 100,000 monthly listeners when the average is around 160,000. Are there any questions around the things that I showed now? No? Guess not. So, okay, we can also do like questions in the end, but if you have something to ask, you can also feel free to do it in between. So this is the first case. But as you saw here, we have more charts. So not only Spotify chart, we have also the Viberate overall chart. So here are not only Spotify artists, but basically artists that are also present on other channels. And the ranking here is actually more comprehensive as it takes into account also the performance across social media channels, other music channels, radio airplay, and so on.
And this might be, sorry to jump in, but this might be also relevant because we have people here who are related to marketing operations. This is also, yeah, go ahead. We have a question.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Oh yeah. So hey, this is Chris. So I'm just curious. So this may seem like a kind of a crazy or foolish question, So you were checking the ranges for fairly high numbers. Like I'm assuming you could check even people like what's the minimum amount of number that the artist has to have that you can check? Can you check people with like that are like at 5 plays? Like I mean like really low level stuff, or is that below the radar of the program?
Well, right now we have around 600,000 artists on Viberate, and we're actually looking at ways to increase that number. So every artist that's added to our database goes through the curation process. That's how we maintain the database quality. So we also have artists that have just a couple of hundred followers or a couple of hundred listeners.
Okay.
But probably not a lot of them. But we are working on a couple of ways to include more than a couple of million artists in the next couple of months. So yeah, we know that it's really important to find artists as soon as possible. So that's why we were looking at ways to include also those who are not having, let's say, more than a couple of thousand followers yet.
Yeah, so maybe like there's like the bottom 10%, but it's not accurately represented. I mean, I know that's not a
yeah, we could say that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
We have Morgan and then Marcus.
Hi, so I was using Viberate this summer for a research project, and I really liked the tool. I liked the data. I was specifically looking at something that was focused on genres. So I was using a lot of the genre filters and views to get in. And one thing that I wanted to ask, and it could just be because I just wasn't as familiar. So having you guys here, I'm taking advantage of that. I really liked this view that you're showing right now from the performance score, sort of the proprietary ranking. And I like it because, as you mentioned, as a marketing professor, part of what I was looking at in the research project is I was looking specifically at digital and the interplay between digital and social impacts. And so being able to look at this breakout that's looking at not just the traditional way we think of digital from the streaming on Spotify, but the YouTube, the Instagram, the Facebook, and particularly the TikTok. I wasn't able to use this particular view in my research because I couldn't account for the assumptions that underlie sort of the weightings or rankings. If I can't detail that in my methodology section, I kind of can't use it in publishable research. I can use it in other ways, like in the classroom. Can use that with instruction in the classroom, but I can't use it for my research purposes. And I would really like to be able to do so because I really, really liked the tool. Is there any way that we can get is there an available assumption statement that doesn't reveal your proprietary information, but does allow us to have the kind of explanation necessary to submit the methodology section for academic publication?
Well, I'm not really familiar how detailed the methodology needs to be explained. Like you assumed, we can't really reveal our algorithm because it's one of our competitive advantages. So we have a lot of synthetic metrics, and this performance score is actually our, let's say, our most advanced algorithm. But we can, we can jump on a separate call and discuss if we can provide an explanation that would be enough for you, and also
just a general statement would be awesome. Nothing that speaks to anything that could replicate your IP, of course, but something that speaks to sort of a high level description of how the interplay of the different categories combine to make the score, just in general terms. But because I could not speculate on that, I couldn't use this particular portion. So I focused solely on the Spotify information and some of the radio airplay information, which was fantastic to be able to combine those things and get some of the insights. But I would love to be able to look at this score specifically that factors in the social. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
That can be explored, definitely.
So I can just try to quickly explain so that I think that can be something interesting for everybody here. So our performance score is actually calculated from all the relevant social media and streaming platforms. So you can see these are the ones that are also featured on the chart. So we have Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Shazam, SoundCloud, and the rest of those platforms mentioned here. And we look at three things. We look at the total following, so how many total followers the artist has. We look at the most recent follower growth, so how fast the artist is growing their fan base across each of these channels. And we also look at the engagement across these channels. So we take all that into account, and we have like a system of dynamic weights that are distributed among channels. So if I simplify it, the channels that are most important for the artist, for the musician, have the largest weight, and also the ones that are the most accessible throughout the world. So the ones that are the most used among artists. And we actually update this algorithm, let's say once or twice a year, to reevaluate if those weights are set accurately. So for example, if TikTok is growing as a channel worldwide, then we need to increase the relevancy of the channel inside the algorithm. Is this something that you were looking for?
Super helpful, yes.
Yeah,
and
you can publish that. That would be great if that could be written somewhere for us. Yes. I think that'd be really right, Morgan. Wouldn't that be helpful to have that?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that's great feedback. So this metric is actually really useful because it combines all of the things together. And it's cool that you mentioned TikTok, because that's actually the next thing that I wanted to show. So
we do have a question from Marcus if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, sure.
Take 1 second. Yep.
Oh, it'll just take 1 moment. I appreciate it. When you started your search, you looked at United States. Is there a way that you can drill down into smaller regions than, say, the entire country? If I wanted to look at,
we just had a conversation.
I'm sorry.
We just had a conversation earlier today about that.
We talked about the same thing today. So unfortunately, not yet. Right now, we are currently only able to look at artists at a country level, but we don't have them like specified. So from which city they are from, or from which state.
Filtering out is a little troubling. I mean, it's you have to understand this is a very, very, very huge amounts of data to organize and first aggregate and then organize and put into some relevant context. But there are some moments and aspects of the platform where you actually can drill deeper, but on the city level. So not necessarily on a state level, but on a city level. But in a city level, it's also compromised because you then can investigate maybe like the top 50 cities where the Spotify streams are happening and stuff like that, so that's basically the most advanced filtering or investigation that you can do in that sense.
So yeah, for example, what David is talking about is if we look at an artist's Spotify analytics, we can drill down to in which city the artist has the most monthly listeners. So this is something that you can do on the artist level, but we can't use the chart in that way, unfortunately.
Marcus, let me bounce it back to you. Did you have a specific application just for out of interest where you think it would be most relevant?
No, I was thinking in terms of particularly for emerging artists, identifying markets where they would put more push, because we see that we've got support there already.
Maybe I can't reveal much, but we are working on a concept for one of the major DSPs that is basically somehow trying to answer that question, so very early signaling. So I don't know, maybe in a few months when we have our heads wrapped around that and have more answers, we can maybe readdress that question. So, but for now, that's it.
Fine. Morgan has a question. I just wanted to comment. I think also on the touring side of things, being able to research via cities, tour markets would be, and I know you have of all the analytics platforms, Viberate is really the only one that's doing touring well. So I could see that as a research tool for artists or for us in our research. Morgan, you had a question?
I just wanted to add, so looking at the listeners by city, I found that to be extremely helpful. So the project that I was working on this summer was the state of Black music out of the US. So looking at genres that are traditionally considered to be Black music genres, and looking at sort of where that state is. And this was extremely interesting to help point out some trends. So some of the top cities where the monthly listeners were for Black genres were outside of the US. In almost every category, they weren't US based, they weren't predominantly Black populations. And I think that helped to explain, if we're inspired by music that we're listening to then create those kinds of music, it helped to add some insight into why we're seeing a growing number of non-Black, non-American artists in traditionally African-American genres, specifically those genres that are built on talking about the African-American lived experience, right? So when we think about hip hop, those kinds of things. So it was really eye-opening to see some of this city granularity in terms of where the listeners are, because it helped to think about giving some context to the trends that we're seeing with where the emerging artists are coming from, or the kind of cultural identity of where many of the emerging artists in the genres are coming from. And a lot of it has to do with where the music is being consumed, you know, the larger places where the music is being consumed. So I found it extremely interesting.
That's an awesome insight.
Yeah. Cool. Any more questions now?
I think we're good if you guys want to continue.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I wanted to show you one other thing. So that's on the main Viberate chart. So when we were talking about TikTok, now we have like a huge number of artists, or let's say wannabe artists, who just try to break through TikTok. And this chart can actually help you filter out the ones who are breaking through TikTok, but also have some traction on music channels. So they aren't just some influencers or content creators, but they actually have proven themselves as musicians with like a fan base on one of the music channels. So this chart allows you also to sort through a variety of metrics. So let's see. Here, according to TikTok listeners, we now see who are the top artists. We already know that we can filter them out by genre. So if I wanted to check hip hop artists who are getting the most TikTok likes, I can also, here you can also narrow down the time frame. So here now we're looking at TikTok likes in the past 12 months. But if I want to be as relevant and as recent, I can select, for example, the 1 month time frame, which will give me the latest results, hopefully, once the chart loads.
And while we're waiting, do you want to share, what are you offering to faculty right now as far as access to the platform? Do you want to just sort of give us a once-over on faculty and student access?
Yeah, so basically there's this ongoing program where your partners and basically students who let's say would want to use this for research purposes can get access for an entire semester inside this program. They can access the Viberate Premium account, and basically that's the running program that we have with faculties. So basically,
great. So faculty and students have access to Viberate Premium for the length of a semester, and to make that happen, process to make that happen is to email you.
Yeah. So basically, the best and the most convenient way for us and for the faculties is that basically lists of the students get assembled in batches, so that we don't have like every day people dripping in. You know, it would be best. We have like a 14-day, let's say, evaluation, so that we see, okay, in the past 14 days, new students are in the program, and then we grant the access every 14 days. So it's best to basically get lists, so batches of people who need to be granted the access. That's
so my recommendation is, in the beginning of the semester, you have a list of all the students that are enrolled in your class. Have them go on Viberate and have them sign up for the free version, so they have access to the platform. And then after you have them signed up, send your EDU email list to MEIEA or David, however you guys might prefer. And, you know,
we can,
as a document.
Yeah, the easiest is probably like whoever is interested in that, just first email me. I'll share with you like a spreadsheet where you can manage that. And then once like your student list is ready, we can take it from there and grant the access.
Perfect. Great. I'll let you guys continue now. Thanks.
So I managed to filter out the chart. Sometimes it just gets stuck because of the amount of data here. Usually it works when you refresh it. So it's not a big issue or anything. So here we can see now the hip hop artists sorted by the amount of TikTok likes they received in the past month. And as I want to be sure that these are actually artists that have like a base of listeners on Spotify, I can select here the Spotify monthly listeners advanced filter. And I can say that I'm only interested in those that have more than 10,000 monthly listeners. And obviously we see Post Malone here, who is already discovered. So I want to narrow down the range on the other end as well. Let's say no more than 200,000. Okay, now we have only those who have between 10,000 and 200,000 monthly listeners. And if I want to narrow down the selection further, I can also say that I want to look at only those who are below 10,000 rank.
On Viberate.
On Viberate, yeah. That's the thing I was explaining before. So we can see here that these are the artists that are still getting like 2.5 million likes on TikTok in a month or so. So these numbers are huge, and they obviously have like a proven audience on Spotify. So by clicking on them, we are directed to their Viberate analytics, where we can quickly see how they're moving through the ranks. So we see that this one is really growing fast. He grew 20,000 ranks on the overall chart in the past 30 days. We can see the career performance. So this is basically the calculated metric I was explaining before, but through a longer period of time. He has grown significantly in the past month or so. Obviously, the majority of his fan base is on TikTok, and you can also see how his other channels are, how engagement on his other channels is going. So this is one cool use case, because you can combine on one hand the social media data with music data on the other hand.
And this is also one way how to work around the pickle of, let's say, if you have an artist who is booming on TikTok, but then want to understand if this is actually an artist, basically, you know.
Yeah.
Or is it just someone who has an extreme well performing TikTok account and then doing something in music, but is not really working on their music career or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about these advanced filters, as we like to call them, is that you can just adjust the range based on the results you're getting. So if, for example, I see on the chart that I'm still getting like artists who are let's say already established, I can just narrow down the interval and
disregard
them, yeah,
above threshold.
It's like a trial and error process. And in the end, once you get like a perfect combo, like I said, you can simply save the chart so that you don't have to go through the same process again the next time.
You know, guys, if you could go back to like select one of the artists and go into their analytics, like that artist, and scroll down a little bit. I thought one of the interesting right here. So you can see right here on Instagram a specific post that drove traction.
Mm-hmm.
And so you actually go to the post. So you actually have it right there to, you know, look at the post, and then it gives you the analytics, the response to it. Right? Do you guys want to walk us through that just a little bit?
Yes. In general, it's a very very simple thing. So basically, we're trying to map milestones that propel spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we kind of circle. So what's mapped here as the piece of content, and then connect it so that you can actually go or play it inside the platform, is the content that that is mapped right before things started to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually there's a high correlation between high performing content and then a spike of performance on the other end. So we can also see here, there was a YouTube video posted. It got 600,000 views, and the growth just went on after that. So, and yeah, you don't even need to leave the platform to check what's going on either on YouTube, on Instagram.
This is also when an artist, maybe we can open another profile of an artist that has social media maybe a little better populated, because then you can actually see that a lot of like the best performing posts and pieces of content from different channels, you know, from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, are being pulled into the platform and displayed, so you don't have to like navigate outside the platform, and it's a lot more convenient to actually do the research, and then you can navigate away from the platform when you really like need to, or maybe find either inspiration on the Instagram channel of the artist or whatever.
Yeah.
Marcus has a question while you're pulling up. You're going to look for another artist. Marcus, you want to jump in?
Sure. Actually, either on this artist, and Terry, thank you for asking that, because that was the exact question that was on my mind. If we, on an earlier graph, you showed an artist that had a certain spike. I was wondering if there's a way to look at, well, what would cause that spike across social media. These, I don't even know what to call them now, the speedometer for social media.
Yeah, okay.
There was another one that you had music, and another one, there's another view here where that's social media, music, overview, and the social network media respect.
Can you walk us through the career health indicators?
Yeah, and I see compared artists. So my question was, a walkthrough, but also, are the compared artists people that you have used some algorithm to determine who they are, or is the user determining, I'd like to compare these particular artists, or both?
It goes both ways, but not in the same part of the platform.
I can explain. Yeah, so here we actually let's say we compare the artists according to those who are ranked similar in their main subgenre. So we see that Fufu's main subgenre is trap. So we compare her to other artists in trap that are ranked around her on the chart. So we don't try to compare her with Justin Bieber or other artists. So we determine basically with our algorithm where the artist is currently ranked on the chart. So that's the chart we were looking before and the algorithm I was explaining. And we look at, let's say, the artists who are near them on the chart, and we try to compare them across three main pillars of their career. So we have social media performance, where we obviously look at the engagement and fan base growth across social media channels. Then with music performance, we look at DSPs, radio airplay, Beatport, and so on. And then we have network respect, which in this case, unfortunately, isn't available. But here we look at the amount of followers that are also artists who are following the artist on the platform. So this is a kind of let's say, well, it's a measure of the respect the artist is getting from their peers. So we look at a follow as a kind of a token of respect from one artist to another.
And then this is usually, I mean, what we're seeing from like companies, how they applied that to their like research and work is A&R companies are using this as super early signals, you know, of let's say a bigger artist is following a smaller artist, or a smaller artist is following a bigger artist. Does the bigger artist follow the smaller artist back, and stuff like that? And this is somehow, let's say, where this gets interesting, if you, in cases where this feature is actually available and we can investigate it, you know, there are usually pages and pages of these connections. And then if you're navigating to the last page, you would usually find super early young artists who are followed by the bigger artists and so on. And this is a good A&R indicator, you know, and this is how people are getting inspired of maybe taking a look at these younger people who are probably rising at a later stage and so on. So it's, you have to think creatively of how to put all of this data to work.
Can you guys quickly just do a compare artist, maybe find somebody a little bit more established, but do the compare artist feature and compare two artists and then kind of run through that. I think that's a really interesting, I use that often in my classes.
Sure.
Okay, who do you want to compare, David?
Terry has an example, he said.
I do, well, in my promo class, so I'll give you one, Key Glock, K-E-Y-G-L-O-C-K, K-E-Y-Y, yep, G-L space, G-L-O-C-K. Okay, so we'll do Key Glock, and do Moneybag Yo right there.
Okay,
it's here, yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to explain what you had in mind? Because
well, why don't you want to explain the analysis, and then I'll
yeah, okay, sure.
talk about my application.
Basically, we're trying to. So this is the goal is to have to give you the best and most convenient possible visualization of any two artists and be able to compare them. You know, on different key data points. So on the general overview, you know, if you're looking at social media, music channels, network respect, so that you have a vice versa visualization, fan base comparison, size and distribution. And this is a way where you can quickly investigate. Let's say this is very handy if you're late into the decision-making process, either who to book, who to sign, you know, maybe you've done your research on both of the artists, and then you're trying to put this into perspective and do the comparison side by side. And basically, everything is taken into respect here. So engagement metrics, overall, most viewed YouTube video, you know, all time, left versus right, and again, additionally also artist connections, so you can also investigate this here.
This is what we were speaking of before when we were talking about network respect. So the other artists who are following the artist that we are examining. So we can see here that Moneybag Yo is being followed by Justin Bieber, Marshmello, and has overall almost twice as many connections as Key Glock. So by not knowing them, I could deduct that he has been on the scene for a longer period of time, more established, also more well-known among the stars.
Mm-hmm. Audience. So we don't have a lot of data, audience data on Key Glock. You know, Spotify, basically everything that we have available in the analytics tabs is then compared in this view. So, and maybe Terry, now you can reveal your secret.
Sure. Do you want to come out of screen share real quickly? Would that be okay? So I can share my screen?
Sure. I'm stopping, yeah.
So I teach a promotion in the music industry class, and the students have to put together a marketing plan for an artist. And they get to choose the artist, and we have a representative sampling of artists from different genres and also different stages of careers. And the way that we go about it is they start with assessment. So they break down the artist and they learn about where their presence is online. And then how they inform their strategy is to look at other artists that are at the same stage or further along in their career. So with Key Glock, for example, let me just make sure I'm in the right tab here. You know, we are looking at 21 Savage as a comparable artist. And nope. Hang on one sec. I got too many tabs open. All right, here we go.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, I hear you.
We know.
All right. So I really like to look at share. So 29% is Instagram, 40. So even though this artist may have a larger following, you know, and what do we learn here? It's pretty comparable, right? Their Spotify following is comparable. Their Instagram following is pretty comparable, although a little larger here. YouTube following. I see that 21 Savage has a stronger Facebook presence. So these are indicators for the students to look to go, okay, 21 Savage, is there an older audience for 21 Savage? What are they doing content-wise on Facebook to inform their strategy? So if it's an older audience, let's take a look and see, you know, it's an even split, or at least a comparable split as far as male to female. And actually the audience age is pretty similar. So why is this artist trending more or have a larger share of an audience on Facebook? Well, we got to go to the platform and investigate, or maybe there's indicators. And then so forth and so on. We can also look at geographic profile. So what I find is, we've got students who haven't been working in marketing or A&R, but if you use the platform as a starting point to reference strategy or discovery, then they can kind of create their own from there. Mm-hmm. So that's just sort of one example of, how the students in my class, or my promo class.
It's a great example.
That's a cool one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's another artist that we had comparable that hang on, let me just find it. There's an artist called T Grizzly that we looked as a comparable artist. And when we go here, we see that T Grizzly has a larger TikTok audience. So, and Key Glock has 0. So as far as strategy, what is T Grizzly doing on TikTok that Key Glock is not doing? And from there, they can develop their own marketing initiatives by understanding what artists are doing on other platforms.
Yeah, and maybe one thing that I would just address here is, because Micha was referencing the so the neighborhood of the artist, or like who one artist is compared to in their main genre. So one thing to keep in mind here, that the actual or the current neighborhood is basically shifting a lot. So the artist can change the neighborhood, whether they are moving up the overall rank or down the rank, so they're always compared to their current situation, which is a great thing because it doesn't give you distorted data, because
but it also could be good to compare an emerging pop act against Justin Bieber too. Just not even from
this is what you can do. This is what you can do then separately in the compare screen feature, basically. But just so that when you do these investigations, for instance, what you mentioned now, like coming up with a strategy, is usually, it's hard to be inspired by the biggest acts because they're actually doing everything. And they're doing a lot of the right things. And there are a lot of things that they have to do just for, as publicity stunts or whatever. But, smaller artists can't afford to do all of that. So basically then the name of the game is becoming more and more being creative with less, what you can afford, So this comes in handy.
Mm-hmm. And actually, this use case of yours really reminds me of a story that the client shared with me. So one of our clients, that's also a marketing agency, they do a very similar approach when creating like strategy proposals for their clients. So they try to compare the artist who's their client with somebody who they find on the chart that's been spiking lately, that's performing really well. They try to look at where the difference is coming from, so where the other artist is better, and try to reverse engineer that into the strategy of how to grow their own artist. So it's not just a cool exercise for students, but actually a really cool way of helping to grow an artist.
Yeah, 25 years of artist management. That's how I developed my strategy initially, and still to this day.
Cool.
Let's bounce it back. Hal or some of the people, Eric or hey Jay, nice to have you here. Does anybody else have any other questions that they wanted to get our way? We got about 9 minutes, so if there's more that you guys want to cover, that's fine. I just wanted to see if anybody had anything they wanted to.
Yeah, sure. You have something else?
You can show it for.
So then, just quickly, we've said a lot. Is Jay Gilbert here?
He is.
Or Jay Gilbert?
He's in the house. Yeah.
Hey, Jay.
That is Jay Gilbert. Jay. Show your face, Jay Gilbert.
Oh, how do I do that? Hang on, I'm coming.
Hey, good to hear your voice. Hey, man.
A long time no see.
All right, there he is. Look at all those gold records behind him, those gold and platinum records.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Jay, how long have you been listening in?
I've been lurking for a while.
Okay. Do you have anything important to share, like any aspect that could help all of our?
Jay is our analytics guru here, and maybe you can give them a little bit of background on what you do and maybe how you use the platform, Jay.
Well, sure. I worked for major labels most of my career. About 8 years ago, I started my own company called Label Logic, and we work with artist managers, labels, distributors. And a lot of what we do is around data. And I work with Viberate. I use it every day. I think people are inherently afraid of things they don't understand. And whenever I sit down with someone and show them how they can actually use it to either grow their business or learn more about trends or what's going on with their business, the light bulb kind of goes on. I think people, when you hear things like analytics or algorithms, I think people shut down. They're just like, whoa, that's over my pay grade. But once they get in there and you can show them how to use it, they light up. And the last thing I'll say on it is I had a really great meeting about a week ago with the A&R team over at Giant Records and Irving Azoff's office. And we just had like 90 minutes of just going through every aspect of Viberate and how they could use it and what they're doing on the A&R side. And I think it's really exciting because the lazy A&R person will just look at maybe what's happening at TikTok and pounce on that for their market share or whatever. But these young new A&R people that are coming in, they really want to know the data as well as seeing a lineup around the block to see the band play.
Great, thanks for sharing, Jay. So basically, when it comes to how to put this in action, a lot of marketing is going on, a lot of marketing activities, and then you can always find a way how to circle back and understand the impact of the most recent things that you've basically done either with the artist, for the artist, even if you're, if you're working directly or indirectly with the artist, we can basically understand a lot of these dynamics. So, one thing that I just wanted to mention quickly is, you can, when you're looking at the artist profiles, you can look at benchmark metrics, for instance, how, and to understand that will help you understand how the artist is doing in respect to the average average artist in their neighborhood. That's what we were explaining earlier. Like an artist has a neighborhood compared to the artist in their main genre, and then basically, for instance, here we have we're looking at artists who have between 50 and 200K followers, and the industry monthly average in terms of monthly follower growth is 1.2K. And the artist that we're looking at is basically overperforming here by a factor of 4.
5x. Yeah, 5x. Yeah.
So, these are the things that you can then understand and investigate. Again,
context, right?
Yeah, context, exactly.
Yeah.
And
to add to that, by the way, I don't know, Morgan, you had this summer, but you can now export all this data and customize it, right, guys? In an Excel, CVS.
Exactly. So there, you can run cross references, because we're, again, as Micha said, we don't cover all of the probably a million use cases that can happen, and that's why these exports can be extremely helpful. Let's say what A&R people are also looking at is, for instance, I'm using this example here with Domi and JD Beck. It's an interesting artist profile because they've been basically growing through YouTube. They've been posting great performance videos on YouTube, and then they had steady growth in terms of fan base size. As you can see here, it's growing, and then a spike happens, and then a little later in their timeline, the engagement is exploding. Which is, so basically we're looking at the red part of the graph is red. The red part of the graph is representing the fan base growth, and the blue one is representing the engagement here. So, and this is something that signals extremely, beyond great performance. And then what people are looking at, like what's important over time. Can the artist transform this into something like? Let me just find the. Can the artist transform this into something like that? Can this engagement be transformed into a very like stable engagement, very engaged fan base over a longer period of time? And this is the type of data that you can basically investigate and circle back to your promotional activities and all other activities that you're doing, either as a manager or a consultant to artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can follow the artist, and then you have like a home dashboard that can be created for any artist that you're tracking as well.
Yeah, exactly. So basically you can click follow, and then you get the most recent and most important pieces of information delivered to your
on a landing page, so to speak.
Yeah, and what I wanted to display here as well, sorry, is basically all of these, all of these data segments that we're looking here. So we have modules, like here on the overview, we have the career performance module, we can save it. Then we have, if we're going to the social media tab, we have the social media performance overall, overview, we can save it. And from all these bits and modules of data, again, looking at Instagram overview, we can save it. And now through this process, we can create custom views. And this is a way how you can then investigate each and every artist through the same lens. You have sets of data set up, and then you don't have to like navigate through all of these tabs and go to the right place, investigate, navigate back or to another artist. You can basically have different tabs open. You use the custom view, search for a new artist, and then you have your own custom view for your specific case. And this is extremely helpful because you're getting real-time reports delivered into your dashboard.
So basically you create your own adventure.
Yeah, true.
Clyde wants to know in the chat, how far back do you go with your data?
So it depends. It actually depends on which type of data, but let's say we have the longest data we have on Beatport, and that's until 2013, I think. So almost 10 years of data on Beatport. But for the other channels, an average of 2 to 3 years, I'd say. That's for the artists that we've been tracking for that long. So, but for example, if a new artist emerges, once we add them to our database, the data starts collecting the day after that, basically. So you can track also a new artist, not only the ones who have been in the database since day one.
So one thing that's probably why this question is asked is, how far back can we go from the time that the artist is listed on Viberate? And unfortunately, so we can go back in history. Mm-hmm. So this is what we have to disclose. But still, we're really working hard on improving like the early detection of an artist as possible. So what we're currently working on is we try to understand when the artist is spiking, maybe purely on Spotify or only on TikTok or on channel X, and that gives us a strong enough signal to basically display the artist on Viberate.
We're just about out of time, but I thought if you could just quickly give a quick look at the song, tracking the song rather than the artist, which I think might be of interest to our faculty.
Sure.
So this is an example of a page for a track. So besides artists, we also track more than 10 million songs. So for each song, you can get information across Spotify, YouTube, Radio Airplay, Shazam, Beatport, and SoundCloud. So you can very easily see how the overall stats of the track are going across different periods of time as well. You can see the trends very easily. And then you can also do like a channel deep dive. So how the streams have been going through a longer period of time, as well as the playlists, which have been the top playlists that the track was added on, and also which are the active playlists. And in like a matter of a month or two, we will also include the past playlists, so the playlists where the track has been dropped from. So this is something that Jay is looking forward to.
And is nodding happily.
Yeah, that'll be huge. What a great research tool to know what playlists were indicators historically and currently. Yeah.
So I know that we're running out of time. So I know there's a lot more to cover. Of course, everyone is welcome to send us follow-up questions So the more the merrier, I'd say. If you remember anything that we haven't covered, or you remember a question later, just pop by. You have our email addresses. Terry can connect us. So, and if there's a need, or if anyone wants to, we can do something like that, every 2 months with new updates, or basically whatever you think would be valuable to your community.
And I don't want to volunteer Miha, but he has spoken to my class and given a once-over on the platform for the students to learn how to use the platform. So I'm not sure what your process is there, Miha, but it was very helpful for my students to be able to learn how to use the platform through a demo in class.
Yeah, sure. If there's interest, we can do that as well. No problem.
Fantastic. So I included David's email in there. If you want to provide access, grant access to your students, maybe next semester for a class, as well as your own access, you can reach out to David and he can help coordinate. Again, I'd suggest signing up for the free version and then sending a list of the email addresses of the students that you want to grant premium access to. So great. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks guys for doing this demonstration and for offering access to the platform. I love it.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in.
Thanks for all the great questions as well and all the feedback we got. This was super awesome.
Great. All right. And the version of this has been recorded and it'll be available on our YouTube page if anybody wants a refresher on it as well.
Cool.
So, great. All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. See everybody.
Yeah.
You too.
Take care. Good to see everybody. Bye-bye.